The night before his execution, the prison was quieter than usual. Even the guards, usually loud and careless with their conversations, moved silently as if afraid that the wrong sound might break something fragile in the air. In cell 47 sat a man who didn't look like a murderer, even though the world believed he was one. His name was Jace Holloway, 36 years old, with tired eyes and hands that trembled only when he thought about the one thing he would never see again after sunrise: his dog, Coda. Jace had asked for many things during the last weeks: a chance to reopen his case, a chance to speak to the detective who locked him up, a chance to prove that what happened wasn't what they thought, but none of that mattered anymore. Now he only wanted one thing, a simple thing: to see his dog one last time. Coda wasn't just a dog. He'd been Jace's shadow since the day he found him injured by the roadside 5 years earlier. A half-wolf, half-unknown mix with silver fur and amber eyes that made people step back when they first saw him. But Coda was gentle, loyal, and frighteningly intelligent. He had stayed beside Jace through everything, through losing his job, through the divorce, through the nights Jace didn't think he could go on. And when the night of the incident happened, when the police broke into the warehouse and dragged Jace out, Coda had thrown himself against the officers, desperate to reach him. They tranquilized Coda on the spot. It was the last time Jace saw him. Now, hours before his execution, Jace whispered into the cold wall of his cell, as if Coda could somehow hear him. "I'm sorry, buddy. I should have protected you." He sat on the metal bed and closed his eyes, replaying the night he'd been arrested, the gunshots echoing like thunder, the girl screaming, the warehouse burning. A setup, a trap, a nightmare he had never been able to wake from. And the world believed he killed that girl even though he knew the truth. But the truth didn't matter here. The paperwork was signed. The witnesses had spoken. His appeal failed. The last place he could scream the truth was inside his own mind. The cell door clanged open without warning. Warden Briggs stepped in, a large man with a thick mustache and a voice that normally sounded like gravel. But tonight he spoke more softly. "Holloway," he said, "your final request, it's been approved." Jace lifted his head slowly. "Coda." Briggs hesitated. "Yes, the governor signed off, but there are conditions." "I don't care," Jace said. "Just let me see him." The warden cleared his throat, not meeting his eyes. "They're bringing him in the morning." "Morning?" Panic tightened Jace's chest. "My execution is at 6. That's not enough time." "He'll be here before then." Jace nodded, though his heart raced. He had expected the request to be denied. The system wasn't built for compassion, and yet somehow, someway, someone had approved it. It felt unreal. As Briggs turned to leave, Jace asked, "Why'd you help me?" The warden paused. "Because I don't think you belong here." Then he walked away before Jace could ask anything else. Hours crawled by. Jace couldn't sleep. Every minute was a countdown. Every breath felt like a goodbye being forced out of his lungs. He sat on the edge of his bed thinking about the girl Mara Jensen and how her life had ended that night. Everyone said he killed her. He was found with the gun, his fingerprints on it. But he remembered the masked men, the ones who ran when the police sirens came. He remembered Mara trying to talk before her final breath. He remembered the way someone shoved the weapon into his hand, while he was dazed from the blow to his head. No one believed him, not even his own lawyer. But Coda had been there. Coda saw everything, and Coda might have been the only creature on Earth who knew the truth. When the sky outside began to lighten, Jace felt a strange pull in his chest, a sensation he couldn't describe, like something just beyond the prison walls was calling to him, or someone. It was 4:45 a.m. The guards marched in and told him to prepare himself. He was given fresh clothes, simple gray, the fabric stiff and heavy. They escorted him through the hallway where several other inmates watched silently. Some nodded to him with respect. Others simply looked away. The entire prison felt the weight of what was coming. When they reached the visitation yard, Jace froze. A small crowd had gathered, guards, reporters outside the fence. a man from animal control holding a leash. And at the end of that leash stood Koda. Time stopped. Koda's fur was longer than Jace remembered, wild around the edges. His eyes were still that deep amber, filled with intelligence and something else, something Jace couldn't name. The moment those eyes met his, Koda pulled forward. The man holding him stumbled, then lost his grip. Koda, Jace called. The dog sprinted across the yard, faster than anyone could react, and launched himself at Jace, nearly knocking him down. Jace dropped to his knees, holding him, burying his face in the familiar fur. For the first time in years, he felt warmth, safety, home. "You're here," Jace whispered. "I can't believe you're really here." Koda whimpered, licking his face with frantic urgency, as if trying to wash away every second they'd been apart. Jace's hands trembled as he held him tighter, afraid that if he let go, Koda would disappear. The warden stepped closer. "You have 15 minutes. 15 minutes. It didn't feel fair, it didn't feel real, but Jace nodded, stroking the side of Koda's neck. "You knew, didn't you?" Jace whispered. "You tried to warn me that night. You always sensed danger before I did." Koda's ears twitched, and he pressed his forehead to Jace's chest. Reporters outside the fence whispered to each other, taking photos. Some wiped tears. The sight of a man condemned and the dog who loved him was more powerful than any headline. But Jace wasn't paying attention to them. He was watching Koda. Because something was off. Koda was restless, tense, his muscles coiled as if he were guarding Jace from something unseen. His eyes weren't just sad, they were alert, searching, tracking movement Jace couldn't detect. "What is it, boy?" Jace asked softly. Koda turned his head toward the right side of the yard. His eyes narrowed. A low growl rumbled from his throat. The guard stiffened. Warden Briggs frowned. "Everything okay?" Jace shook his head slowly. "Koda, he's sensing something." One of the guards scoffed. "It's a dog, he's confused." "No," Jace said firmly. "Koda never growls unless he sees a threat." The animal control officer stepped forward, reaching for the leash. "I should take him. He might be reacting to stress." But before he could grab him, Koda lunged forward again, this time not toward Jace but toward the back gate of the yard. He barked sharply, then growled again. "Koda, stop," Jace called. But Koda wasn't listening. He was warning. Moments later, a loud metallic clank echoed from the far gate. Everyone turned. A man had appeared there. A guard who wasn't on duty. A guard who shouldn't have been there at all. Jace stared, his breath catching in his throat. He knew that face. Detective Rowan Hale, the man who arrested him. The man whose testimony sealed Jace's fate. The man Jace had always suspected wasn't telling the truth. "Why is he here?" one of the guards whispered. Warden Briggs narrowed his eyes. "Hale, you're not authorized to be here." Hale didn't answer. He walked forward with slow, deliberate steps, eyes locked on Jace. Koda positioned himself in front of Jace, tail stiff, teeth bared. Something was wrong, badly wrong. Hale stopped just a few feet away, his expression unreadable. "Morning, Holloway," he said softly. Jace stood slowly, keeping a hand on Koda's back. "What do you want?" Hale's mouth curved in a strange, unsettling smile. "To tell you something before you die." Jace felt his heart pound. "What?" The detective leaned in slightly, his voice low enough that only Jace could hear. "You weren't supposed to take the fall alone." Jace froze. "What are you talking about?" But Hale didn't answer the question. Instead, his eyes flicked toward Koda, cold, calculating. "That dog," he murmured, "should have been put down the night you were arrested. He saw things he wasn't supposed to, but no matter. After today, nothing will matter." Koda barked furiously, snapping at the air between them. Jace's blood turned to ice. Briggs stepped forward. "Hale, I'm asking you one last time, leave now." but Hale only smirked. "Oh, I'm not here to cause trouble." Then he leaned closer. "I'm here to see the end of the only witness who could destroy everything." Kota growled deeper, and Jace gently placed a hand on his head. "You did this," Jace whispered. "You framed me." Hale didn't deny it. Instead, he said, "Goodbye, Holloway." He turned to leave. And then, a shot rang out. Screams followed. Guards ducked, reporters threw themselves to the ground, and Warden Briggs shouted orders. Jace instinctively shielded Kota. But Hale wasn't running. He was lying on the ground, clutching his shoulder, blood spreading across his uniform. Someone else had shot him. From the prison rooftop. Jace looked up just in time to see a figure retreat behind the ledge. "Kota sensed him," Jace whispered. "He was trying to warn us." The yard exploded with chaos. Guards swarmed the area, dragging Hale away as he shouted nonsense. Reporters yelled through the fence. The warden tried to restore order. But in the middle of it all, Kota pressed against Jace's side, trembling, not in fear but in anticipation. As if this moment wasn't an ending, but the beginning of something much bigger. What happened next would change everything. Forever, chaos churned through the prison yard like a sudden storm. Guards sprinted in every direction, radios blaring with overlapping orders. The shot that struck Detective Hale had changed everything. The fear, the confusion, the knowledge that someone else was out there with a gun and a reason to hide. But Jace barely noticed any of it. His focus stayed on Kota, who had pressed himself firmly between Jace and the open yard, teeth still bared at the rooftop where the shooter had vanished. "Kota," Jace whispered, kneeling beside him, "you saw him before anyone else. You always know." Kota didn't blink. His amber eyes stayed locked on the roof's edge, ears standing rigid. Warden Briggs approached, breathless and furious. "Get Holloway inside. Get him inside now." Two guards grabbed Jace by each arm, but Kota snarled so violently that neither dared move closer. "Easy," one shouted. "Get the damn dog away." "He's protecting me," Jace snapped. Briggs raised his hand. "Hold, let the dog stay close. We don't know what the hell is happening." Jace nodded and slowly placed his hand on Kota's neck. "It's okay. We're going. Stay with me." Kota's growl softened but didn't disappear. He walked beside Jace with slow, calculated steps, every muscle alive, as if danger was lurking behind every shadow. Guards led them into a narrow hallway that led to the administrative wing, not back to his cell. "Where are you taking me?" Jace asked. "To the secure interview room," Briggs said, "until we figure out why someone tried to shoot Hale." "Someone tried to kill him," Jace said, correcting him, "or silence him." Briggs stopped walking. The guards behind them froze too. "What did Hale say to you?" the warden demanded. Jace hesitated. He wasn't sure he could trust anyone except the dog beside him. But Briggs had helped him see Kota. He had believed in him when others didn't. "He told me," Jace said quietly, "that I wasn't supposed to take the fall alone." Briggs's jaw tightened. "Meaning what?" "Meaning," Jace said, "he admitted I was framed." The hallway fell still. The guards exchanged looks, not of disbelief but of fear. Briggs spoke slowly. "Who framed you?" "I don't know, but Hale's been involved since the start." Before Briggs could respond, Kota suddenly jerked toward a side door, barking sharply. The hairs on his back rose like spikes. "What's got into him now?" a guard shouted. Jace followed Kota's gaze. A shadow moved under the door. Someone was right behind it. Before the guards could react, the door burst open and a man lunged into the hallway. He wasn't wearing a uniform. He was dressed in black from head to toe, face hidden under a mask. A pistol glinted in his hand. "Down!" Briggs yelled. But the man wasn't aiming at Briggs. He was aiming directly at Jace. The guards scrambled to reach Jace, but Kota was faster. He launched himself into the air with a ferocity Jace had never seen. His jaws clamped around the attacker's wrist. The gun fired, the sound exploding through the enclosed corridor, causing Jace's ears to ring. The bullet hit a light fixture, shattering glass above them. The masked man screamed, trying to shake Kota off, but Kota dug his teeth deeper. Jace lunged forward, grabbing the attacker's other arm, trying to wrench it away. A guard tackled the man to the ground, and another kicked the gun across the hallway. "Kota, let go," Jace shouted. Kota released the man only when two guards held him down, cuffing him. Blood dripped down the attacker's arm where Kota's teeth had torn into him. "Secure him," Briggs barked, "and get Holloway inside that room now." The guards dragged the attacker away while a medic ran toward them. Kota stayed pressed against Jace, breathing hard, muscles still tense. Jace stroked his fur. "You saved my life again." Briggs pointed at the secured interview room. "Inside, both of you." They entered. The door slammed behind them with a heavy metallic finality. The room was small, with pale walls, a single table bolted to the floor and two chairs. Kota immediately took position near the door, watching through the small window panel as guards hurried down the hallway outside. Briggs paced the length of the room, shaking his head. "This isn't normal. An attack inside my facility, on the day of an execution. That doesn't happen unless someone wants it to." Jace leaned against the table, breath still uneven. "Someone wanted Hale dead. Someone wanted me dead. Someone doesn't want the truth coming out." Briggs stopped packing and stared at him. "What truth, Holloway? You've said for years that you were set up. Every inmate says that. Why should I suddenly believe you?" Jace didn't answer in words. He just looked at Kota. Kota stepped closer and placed his paw against Jace's leg, as if sensing the warden's doubt. Briggs watched the gesture. His expression changed, not softened, not hardened, just changed, as if something in his mind had clicked. He sat down slowly. "Tell me everything from the beginning." Jace took a deep breath. "I was supposed to meet Mara Jensen that night," he began. "She called me earlier in the day. She was scared, said someone was threatening her. She wanted to talk somewhere private. I found her in the warehouse. She was bleeding. Someone had already attacked her." Briggs leaned forward. "Go on." "She tried to tell me who did it, but she couldn't get the name out. I heard footsteps. Someone hit me from behind. I blacked out. When I woke up, the gun was in my hand, the police were already there, and Hale was the one who dragged me outside." "And the attackers, you didn't see them?" "No," Jace said. "But Kota did. He was with me. He barked before I was hit. He sensed them." Briggs sighed. "A dog can't testify." "No," Jace agreed. "But a dog can identify a scent, follow a trail, recognize someone he's seen before." Briggs stared at him. "You think Kota recognized Hale?" "He growled the moment Hale walked in," Jace said. "He never forgets a smell. And the masked man in the hallway, Kota attacked him without hesitation. He knew he was part of it." Briggs rubbed his temples. "Even if that's true, even if Hale is dirty, even if someone else was involved, your execution is in less than 2 hours." Jace swallowed hard. The weight of those words pressed down like a stone. "So that's it," Jace whispered, "even after what just happened." Briggs didn't answer immediately. He looked at the door, at the window, at his own hands. "I can't stop an execution unless there is absolute proof." "Someone just tried to kill me," Jace said. "That attacker isn't talking," Briggs replied grimly. "He's unconscious from the fight, and Hale is claiming you provoked him." Jace laughed bitterly. "Of course he is." Kota let out a low whine, sensing the despair rising in the room. Briggs checked his watch. "We have 1 hour and 42 minutes left." "For what?" Jace asked. "For a miracle," Briggs said. Silence stretched between them. Then Kota suddenly lifted his head. His ears pricked sharply. A low growl began deep in his throat. "What now?" Briggs muttered. A moment later, A guard pounded on the door. "Warden, you need to see this now." Briggs opened the door. A young guard stood there, pale and shaking. "Sir, Hale is gone." Briggs froze. "Gone? What do you mean gone?" "He escaped the infirmary," the guard said, voice cracking. "Knocked out 2 officers, and then he stole a badge." "Damn it!" Briggs slammed his fist against the doorframe. Jace felt dread settle in his stomach. "He's coming for me." Briggs turned sharply. "We're moving you now. There's only one place he won't expect." Jace stood, keeping his hand on Coda as they followed the guards out of the room. But Coda suddenly planted his feet. "Come on," Jace whispered, tugging gently. Coda refused to move. Instead, he sniffed the air, then turned his head left, toward the lower corridor, the one leading to storage, the old archives, and the basement. The place where no one went. "Coda," Jace murmured. The dog barked sharply and pulled the leash from Jace's hand, sprinting down the hallway. "Coda, stop!" Jace ran after him. "Holloway," Briggs shouted, "get back here." But Coda kept running, turning corners with certainty, as if he were following a trail only he could sense. Jace followed him, heart pounding, until they reached a stairwell leading down. Coda stood at the top, staring into the darkness. A voice echoed faintly from below. A muffled, desperate voice. "Help, please." Jace's breath hitched. "That's a woman," he whispered. Briggs caught up, out of breath. "What the hell is happening now?" Coda barked again, this time sharper, urgent. Jace looked at Briggs. "Someone's down there." "One of my guards would have reported." "It's not a guard," Jace said, "not with a voice like that." The plea came again. "Help me." Briggs hesitated only a moment. Then he nodded. "Fine, let's see." They descended the stairs with flashlights drawn, Coda leading the way. The air grew colder the deeper they went. Dust thickened. The smell of concrete and old metal filled their lungs. Far down the hallway, behind a partially opened door, Coda stopped. Briggs pushed the door fully open. The beam of his flashlight hit a figure tied to a chair, wrists bound, tape across her mouth, bruised and terrified. Jace felt his heart stop. Because he knew that face. Everyone did. It was Mara Jensen. Alive. Coda barked once. As if to say, this is the truth. This is the one you thought you lost. Jace stood frozen, breath gone, world spinning. She was alive. The girl whose death he'd been sentenced for was alive. For several seconds, nobody moved. The air in the basement felt too heavy to breathe, even colder than the concrete floor beneath their feet. Only Coda moved, stepping forward slowly, his tail low, ears tilted in concern as he approached the bound woman. Mara Jensen's eyes widened with recognition when she saw Jace behind him. A muffled sound escaped her behind the tape, halfway between a sob and a plea. Jace felt his legs give out. He leaned against the wall, gripping the edge of a rusted shelf to steady himself. "She's alive," he whispered. "She's really alive." Warden Briggs sprinted forward, tearing the tape from her mouth. Mara gasped in pain as air rushed into her lungs. "Oh God," she cried. "Please, please get me out of here." Briggs pulled out a knife and began cutting the ropes. "What happened? Who brought you here? How long have you been?" Footsteps thundered upstairs. Growling came from Coda, sharp, immediate, a warning. Jace's heart raced as he stepped forward. "That's him." Briggs froze. "Hale." A shadow appeared at the top of the stairs. A voice drifted down, cold and mocking. "Well, I didn't expect you all to find her so quickly." Detective Hale descended the stairs slowly, a gun held at his side. His uniform was half torn, blood still seeping from his bullet wound, his eyes wild. "You just couldn't follow the plan," he said, shaking his head. "You had to start digging." Briggs reached for his own weapon, but Hale pointed the gun at him instantly. "Don't," Hale warned. I've had a very long night. Jace stepped in front of Coda. You framed me, he said, voice steady despite the fear in his chest. Hale laughed. You were easy. Wrong place at the wrong time and a dog that couldn't talk. It was perfect. Mara let out a sob. You attacked me, she whispered. You kept me here for days. Hale shrugged as if discussing the weather. You got involved in business you shouldn't have. You found something you weren't supposed to find. I didn't plan to kill you, just scare you. But then you ran off, tried to call Holloway, and the whole thing unraveled. So I improvised. You made the world believe she was dead, Jace said. You think the public cares about details, Hale sneered. All they needed was a picture, a body bag, and a closed case. And your dog almost ruined everything that night. I was going to take care of him too. Coda growled so loudly the walls shook. Hale pointed the gun at Coda. Oh, shut up, mutt. Jay stepped closer. Don't you touch him. Hale laughed, still protecting the dog. How touching. Briggs was edging toward a metal cabinet on the wall. Jace noticed it. Hale didn't. Coda noticed everything. The dog's eyes flicked from Hale's stance, to Jace, to the cabinet. Jace subtly shifted his weight. Coda followed. Hale lifted the gun toward Briggs. Don't even think about it. Leave him, Jace said loudly, forcing Hale's attention back to him. I'm the one you want, right? You framed me. I'm your loose end. No, Hale said coldly. The dog is the loose end. He saw everything that night. Animals remember scents better than any camera. Can't risk that. He tightened his grip on the gun. Coda bared his teeth. Everything happened in a single explosive second. Hale fired. Coda lunged. Jace shoved Mara behind him. Briggs threw open the metal cabinet and grabbed a heavy fire extinguisher. The gunshot echoed through the concrete walls. Coda collided with Hale mid-shot, his jaws clamping onto Hale's forearm. Hale screamed and fired again wildly. The bullet ricocheted off the wall. Get off, Hale shrieked. Jace didn't think. He attacked Hale from behind, slamming him into the wall. The gun dropped. Coda wrestled Hale to the ground, teeth sinking deeper. Briggs swung the extinguisher, striking Hale across the ribs. Hale howled and collapsed fully. Guards stormed down the stairs a moment later. On the ground, they shouted. Hale didn't move. Blood pooled under him. He groaned once, then went still. One of the guards kicked the gun away while another cuffed Hale's hands. Coda backed away, chest rising and falling rapidly, blood on his muzzle. Not his, thankfully. Briggs rushed to Mara. Get her to medical now. Two guards lifted her gently. She clutched Jace's sleeve before they carried her off. You saved me, she whispered. Both of you. Jace squeezed her hand weakly. You weren't supposed to die, not like they said. Her eyes filled with tears. You didn't hurt me. I remember. I tried to tell them. I begged them to listen. They didn't, Jace said softly. But Coda remembered, she whispered. The guards escorted her up the stairs. Briggs looked at the bloody mess on the floor and shook his head. This is bigger than we thought. You have proof now, Jace said quietly. You have her. We have more than that, Briggs said. We have Hale alive, and we have evidence of a kidnapping on prison grounds. Jace swallowed. So what now? Briggs looked at him with a strange expression, something between respect and guilt. Now everything changes. 2 hours later, the sun rose over the prison. But instead of being escorted to the execution chamber, Jace stood in a conference room surrounded by lawyers, investigators, paramedics, and state officials rushing in and out. News traveled fast. A girl declared dead was found alive. A detective was arrested for attempted murder. A death row inmate's conviction was suddenly in question. Reporters gathered outside the prison fences, shouting for answers. Cameras flashed. People chanted. Inside, Jace sat quietly, Coda curled beside him, exhausted from the fight. Mara was in the infirmary, stable but shaken. She confirmed everything: Hale's threats, his attempt to silence her, the staged scene to pin the murder on Jace. Briggs entered the room with a folder in his hand. He took a breath. "Jace, your execution is officially halted." Jace closed his eyes as a wave of relief washed over him. Coda nudged his knee, sensing the shift. Briggs sat across from him. "The governor wants you moved to protective custody. Mara is being transported to a secure hospital. Hale is in federal custody. There will be a full investigation. Your conviction will almost certainly be overturned." Jace let out a breath he'd held for years. "I don't believe it." "You fought long enough," Briggs said. "And that dog, he saved your life, twice today." Jace looked at Coda, who rested his head on Jace's lap. "He saved me long before today." A young female officer entered the room nervously. "Sir, the press is demanding a statement. They also want to see the dog." Jace blinked. "See him." Briggs chuckled. "He's a hero. They want footage, interviews, pictures." Coda perked up at the sound of his name, tail thumping lightly against the floor. Jace smiled. "He deserves it." Briggs walked to the door, then paused. "Jace, I'm sorry for everything." Jace nodded slowly. "Thank you for believing me in the end." The warden left. Jace stared down at Coda. "We're going home," he whispered. But Coda didn't move. He lifted his head slowly, ears tilting. Then Jace heard it, a soft knock. The door cracked open and Mara stepped inside, bandaged but smiling weakly. "You're safe," she whispered. "Mara," he breathed, "you should be resting." "I had to see you," she said. "I needed to say thank you." Jace shook his head. "You're the one who saved me, by being alive." She laughed softly. "I guess I did." Coda walked over to her, pressing his head against her leg. Mara stroked him gently. "He knew I was here. He didn't give up." "That's what he does," Jace said. "He never gives up." The room grew quiet. The weight of years lifted from Jace's shoulders, replaced with something fragile and new. Hope. Real hope. A guard knocked again. "Mr. Holloway, it's time." Jace stood. "Time for what?" The guard smiled. "Time to walk out of this room as a free man." Jace froze. "Already?" "The district attorney arrived," the guard said. "Given the evidence, given Mara's testimony and Hale's confession, they're releasing you immediately pending a full clearing of your record." A tremor ran through Jace's chest. He looked at Mara. She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. Coda barked once, a short, proud, joyous bark. Jace knelt and hugged him. "We made it, boy, we made it." Outside, the prison gates opened. Cameras flashed, people cheered. News vans lined the street, but Jace barely saw them. He stepped into the sunlight with Coda beside him, Mara on his other side. The world felt different, bigger, brighter, like a place he could finally breathe in again. A reporter shouted, "Jace, how does it feel to be free?" Jace glanced at Coda and smiled softly. "It feels," he said, "like getting my life back." Another reporter shouted, "What will you do now?" Jace didn't hesitate. "Take my dog home." Coda barked happily, as if confirming the plan. Mara squeezed his arm, and after that. Jace looked at the horizon, at the new day stretching before him. Unpredictable, uncertain, but finally his. "After that," he said, "we'll figure it out together." Mara smiled. "I'd like that." Jace nodded. Coda stood tall between them, ears up, tail wagging, ready for whatever came next. And as Jace took his first steps into freedom, he knew one truth with absolute certainty. His last wish before execution wasn't just to see his dog. It was the wish that saved his life and changed everything. Forever.